Well, I am back here again with another emergency video because Taylor Swift has decided to declare war against noted flop, disinformation queen, fake news reporter, Deuxmoi, whose claim to fame is basically posting unsubstantiated screenshots of Instagram DMs about random celebrities using weird nicknames that are not funny, clever, or interesting. So basically, it's Dwover. If you're not familiar with this saga or who Deuxmoi is, don't worry, I'm going to catch you all up on this in this video. We are going to talk about how Taylor Swift's publicist, Paine, posted a picture of a DM that Deuxmoi had posted on her Instagram story with the caption, "This is a hill I'm going to die on," about Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn having some sort of covert secret marriage. And the following caption was written by Paine, and I must say this is literally, from a PR perspective, tantamount to a declaration of, like I said, nuclear warfare. Enough is enough with these fabricated lies about Taylor from Deuxmoi. There was never a marriage or ceremony of any kind. This is an insane thing to post. It's time for you to be held accountable with the pain and trauma you cause with posts like this. This is an unusually strong intervention on behalf of Taylor Swift by Paine. Usually, if Paine is going to deny a story or try and reorient a narrative or a conversation in another direction, just going off of what we've seen in the past from Taylor and her team intervening with any sort of public narrative about her, it's usually done through giving a soundbite or a quote to a Taylor-friendly magazine or outlet like People or Entertainment Tonight. Having this strong of a statement come out against a specific entity is something that I can't remember seeing from Paine beyond what happened with Snakegate, aka the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West debacle, and we all know that that didn't really end well for Taylor. This was also posted at 11 p.m. Taylor's time while she was in London for the Renaissance premiere, so there is something very vigilante-ish about this. Taylor is on it. She's taking shots at the heirloom turkey one day by releasing You're Losing Me on streaming services. Jack is then posting about when it was written and throwing the Midnight's timeline all up into confusion. That was my last video. And now Paine is basically declaring war on one of the biggest purveyors of blind items in the celebrity gossip machine. So as always, what's not being said on behalf of Taylor by her camp or by Taylor herself is always a little bit more interesting than what is actually being said. So in this video, I'm going to try and investigate why I think Taylor's team might have had such a forceful reaction to what was a seemingly innocuous, by Deuxmoi's standard, blind item about Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn's relationship. I want to make it clear off the top that I am not Deuxmoi. I am not trying to post any sort of unsubstantiated claims. Anything I state in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. If I am referring to specific pieces of information that I know to be true, I will let you know. If I'm speculating or if I'm delivering analysis, I will let you know. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Zach. I'm the Swiftologist, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more messy boots on the ground reporting. If you're interested in long-form, detailed, analytical conversations about pop culture or Taylor Swift, you also need to check out my podcast, Evolution of a Snake. We will likely be delving into this issue in great detail very soon. And over 50% of you that keep coming back to watch these videos are not subscribed. So I need you to fix that because it makes me sad. This is where I would like to say a big thank you to Paine Eyewear for sponsoring this video. One thing I've always been a little bit sad about as a glasses wearer who really can't tolerate wearing contacts very well is the lack of an ability to really change up my eyewear depending on my outfit. That's just because glasses are kind of expensive. So when Paine reached out and told me that they had these top frames that you could just add on to your base pair of glasses to change up your look or instantly create sunglasses, I was completely gagged, to say the least. It's kind of unbelievably easy. Look at this process. Hello? Now I have a cute pair of blue glasses. And what if I want to protect my eyes from the sun? Well, I can just use the sunglasses frame. Hello! I definitely ordered this in a manic 1989 fit. I wouldn't say that these would be my everyday wear of sunglasses, and this is my favorite top shade pair. It is just a classic plain black sunglass. I mean, come on. They serve. You can't even tell that I have anything on top of the original base frames. Here's how it works. You select your base frame, which starts at $60, an extremely affordable price given a lot of the other direct-to-consumer eyewear brands that I have personally tried in the past. Then you can choose as many top frames as you like to express yourself, and you have 30 days to return your glasses if you don't like them for whatever reason. So you're really not taking any risks when you buy them. My base frame is the Drew, and I was super excited to see that Paine had some extra wide fits because I have a wider face, and I always think that I like a structural, more like angular pair of glasses to bring some dimension to my generally rounder face shape, and I selected the Drews in the classic tortoise colorway, but I was extremely tempted by the blue tortoise as well. They have a bunch of different lens types to suit all of your needs. There are light responsive and sun lenses, blue light filters, and progressive lenses as well. I'm a prescription glasses wearer, and something I've always struggled with is the decision whether to wear contacts or glasses depending on how sunny it is outside, and I sometimes don't really feel like wearing contacts because they irritate my eyes. So having the ability to just literally go like this and instantly be wearing sunglasses and then be able to take them off and not wear them anymore is, it seems simple, but it was a pretty revolutionary concept to me. I would also again like to stress to you that these are extremely affordable compared to some of the other direct-to-consumer eyewear brands that I have personally tried in the past, and I also found that their customer service was extremely responsive and super quick to deal with any sort of questions that I had about my prescription and also the focal length between my pupils, which was something I didn't really understand, but they explained it to me very easily. I would not be able to make the content that I do for you here on Swiftologist without the support of brands like Paine, so I'd like to thank them so much for sponsoring today's video, and I really encourage you guys to click the link in my description for 15% off your first pair. Deuxmoi's response to Paine's forceful declaration of war was idiotic, to say the kindest word I can think of to describe the messiness of the response that came about. If anything, it really proved to me that Deuxmoi is an operation operated from the back of a clown car with the wheels falling off. It is literally the epitome of 3 raccoons in a trench coat trying to gain access to the Met Gala. Like, it really, truly is a sham operation, and I think that it is high time that someone, held them accountable for the things that they do. What exactly they are going to be held accountable and how for, I am confused, but I am all aboard the Expose Deuxmoi train and have bigger and better conversations about information literacy and what the celebrity gossip machine can do to our perception of the truth. Also, for a little bit of context, I am a journalist, so I will be speaking from that perspective a lot throughout this video. What is Deuxmoi? I know a lot of you may be wondering, because despite it having over 2 million Instagram followers, some people still aren't clear on what exactly it is. I kind of circle around it. I know what it is, but I don't ever really check on it, read the stories that are posted. There are just too many of them. And to me, it just rings so clearly as hogwash that anything that is written or said by Deuxmoi or posted on it, I immediately take to be not true, because I know that their process of discerning what information should or shouldn't be posted is almost non-existent. They will literally post anything that you send to them. But a lot of people take this very seriously, and I think that that is part of the reason why Taylor and Tree have decided to declare war on her. So Deuxmoi is a popular social media account which is primarily active on Instagram, and it is known for spreading celebrity gossip and insider information. It operates largely on anonymous tips where people submit their sightings and rumors about celebrities, which are then shared on their Instagram stories by the account, which has gained a lot of notoriety for its behind-the-scenes glimpses into the lives of the rich and the famous, often featuring unverified and speculative content. The works of Deuxmoi's Instagram stories, which disappear after 24 hours, range from mundane things like celebrity sightings in public places to exclusive information like upcoming projects of celebrities that are working on something that hasn't been announced, or personal anecdotes about celebrities. And I would say that the latter, the personal anecdotes about celebrities, is where they come closest to entering slanderous territory. The account maintains the anonymity of its sources, and it's kind of a meme that people say anon please when they submit to Deuxmoi so that they don't post their information. And this approach has led to a lot of discussions about accuracy and the ethics of sharing unverified information, as well as implications for privacy and the spread of misinformation. It is truly, I would say, the symptom of a sick society, but it's not necessarily a new phenomenon. Anonymity is part and parcel with Deuxmoi's operation, both in how tips and resources are submitted to them and how they interact with their followers. The anonymity of what they post kind of operates as this shield of cover against, them having any liability for posting untruthful rumors and gossip about other people. The thinking being, well, we, Deuxmoi, the entity, are not saying this. We're simply posting what someone else said to us. And we're also not going to tell you who they are so that we don't have to hold them accountable. It's like a very strange bastardization of a more traditional journalistic practice of protecting sources that need to have anonymity. So, for example, State Department officials will contribute to a political story who are not authorized to speak publicly about something going on, but it's in the public's best interest to hear from them, etc., etc. As a journalist, your job is to use your powers of discernment to decide who deserves anonymity, when it should be granted, but most importantly, to do a little bit of legwork on the veracity of the sources that are coming to you. If someone wants to remain anonymous, your first question should be why? And if the answer isn't apparently clear, you should really be thinking about what ulterior motives they might have to, give you a piece of information without, standing behind it with their full chest and attaching their name to it if the reason isn't incredibly obvious. When I was working as a journalist, I had to work with anonymous sources a lot because of the nature of where I was reporting. The state is not exactly friendly towards any sort of journalism, so it was kind of a common practice for me to encounter working with anonymous sources, but it truly should be a last resort. Unless there is really an urgent pressing need to keep someone anonymous, you probably should try and get their names on the record. Deuxmoi would never do that, because then it would mean that they would actually have to go and corroborate what is being said, and I can tell you that they have never, not once, done that in their lives. So Deuxmoi was founded by 2 women, Maggie Kempner, who is the granddaughter, I think, of some New York socialite, and Melissa Lavallo. And Maggie Kempner has been getting a lot of heat for posting Deuxmoi, but it's to my understanding from the reporting that I've read that Melissa Lavallo is currently the one running and operating the account. I think Maggie Kempner was involved in its foundings. It used to be a fashion blog way back in 2013 and involved into whatever the hell this is with the steerage of Melissa Lavallo. Some other ancillary reporting that I read reported that there were a team team of people behind Deuxmoi. Not necessarily a big team, but certainly more than one person, though this one person has a lot of influence and sway over what and how Deuxmoi is interacting with their audience. So one kind of has to understand what blind item culture is to get what Deuxmoi is trying to achieve. And believe it or not, there is a huge market and appetite for gossip about celebrities and celebrity culture. I mean, partly it brought you here to this video, right? And celebrity gossip is practically an ancient American art form, with Hedda Hopper doing essentially what Deuxmoi does in Hollywood's golden age in the 30s and the 40s. She wielded a lot of power in the industry, basically by the threat of publishing damaging rumors about people with insider information, and sometimes posting unsubstantiated claims about Hollywood stars. Her writing style was one of truth, rumor, and personal opinion, and it was often difficult to tell which exactly of those three things she was toggling between. Rigorous fact-checking was never a priority for her, and in fact, it often wasn't a priority at all. I bring up Hedda to contextualize what Deuxmoi is doing now. It's not new. It's not a new phenomenon. It's just the medium of which she operates within is different. It's not even particularly unique to our generation. Culturally, we have always been more interested in gossip than journalism, and the medium of social media has just lowered our standards for information overall. So I would say, the barrier to entry with celebrity gossip was low even in the 30s and the 40s for Hedda Hopper, but that still had to go through a printing press and get published on paper, right? So there was some sort of mechanism in place. Now, with the ephemerality of social media, particularly with this medium of posting on stories where you can post a blind item and have it disappear for 24 hours, which kind of, I guess, indirectly absolves you of any accountability for having posted it in the first place, I think that that's given way to something like Deuxmoi being able to rise to the level of gravitas and success that it has. I mean, this account has a book. There is a book written by Deuxmoi, which I've heard is terrible, and I believe. I don't need to read it to know that it's terrible, but it's also being adapted into a TV show, and they have merch. This is not a non-profit enterprise, okay? Deuxmoi's big thing, and what I think they believe is their iron shield against any and all sorts of liability for things that they post, is that they are upfront about not fact-checking. Their Instagram bio currently says, some statements made on this account have not been independently confirmed. This account does not claim information published is based in fact. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I will be kind of speculating on legal issues and matters throughout, but that's just using my powers of discernment. Any lawyer is free to, disagree with me or prove me wrong in the comments below. But I would imagine that insisting that these statements are not true and that you do not claim that this information is truthful becomes a moot point when you stop just posting Instagram stories and you start adding your own words onto it. So by editorializing the stories that they're posting instead of just posting the blind items and going, they, I think, can be held liable for what they say. And Deuxmoi has been attaching their opinion to a lot of stories about Taylor Swift as of late. The story in question that is being posted about this alleged non-legal marriage ceremony between Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn is something that Deuxmoi was quoted as saying is a hill she is willing to die on. And she wrote this while publishing the claim. This, I think, is going to come back and bite her. Early on in the Deuxmoi saga, the creator claimed rather vehemently not to be a reporter, and I think that that line has really blurred over time as the voracious audience appetite for celebrity gossip has just propelled Deuxmoi to become even bolder and more assertive on social media with adding their opinions and their commentary on things instead of just posting these rumors and going, which is how it started. They're also becoming a little bit too big for their britches. Deuxmoi recently was interviewed by Ryan Seacrest, where she talked about Taylor and Travis's supposed engagement, speaking with a bizarre authority, even going to say there are 3 specific possible dates for this engagement, talking about how excited Taylor was. This bizarre authority for someone who doesn't claim to know anything real or true and doesn't purport to be sharing any factual information. Claiming to have access to insider knowledge is one thing. Claiming to be the insider and going on the record and commenting as a source who is purporting to tell the truth is entirely another thing. My theory is that Taylor was kind of letting Deuxmoi rock, even though the things that were being said about Taylor were getting increasingly more and more invasive. She was letting her rock because after all, it was just, an Instagram account that posted Instagram stories. When the mainstream media starts to legitimize Deuxmoi by picking up the stuff that she says and reporting on it elsewhere in other tabloids like Page 6, and eventually making its way to Ryan Seacrest, who should know better than to interview people like Deuxmoi and put them on the record as a source. What happens in that process is Deuxmoi gets legitimized, and that, runs the risk of the information that Deuxmoi is sharing being taken more and more seriously, which it is. And I can understand why someone like Taylor Swift, who loves to control the public narrative about her, would have a huge problem with that. However, despite all of this bravery, to go on a radio show and share her opinions or her facts, as she would say, so bravely, Deuxmoi is a coward who doesn't want to officially reveal her identity, which is why she stopped posting about Hailey Bieber, who threatened to expose her after finding out her identity. Not only did Deuxmoi stop posting negative things about Hailey, she kind of did a quick heel turn and started posting positive stuff about her. Now, I don't really follow Deuxmoi that much, so I don't know what her relationship to Hailey Bieber is now, but I think that this shows you pretty clearly that Deuxmoi is not an unbiased source of information, and remaining anonymous actually just further obscures whatever biases she has against the people that she's posting about. We don't know if Deuxmoi is deliberately looking for bad stories about Taylor to post because she doesn't like Taylor's publicist, which could very well be true after this interaction they've just had in public, but you can see what I mean in that the entire operation is very murky and shady and difficult to ascertain if it has any sort of legs or not. So let's deconstruct Deuxmoi and Paine's statements in full, shall we? So what Deuxmoi said that Paine and Taylor are taking umbrage with is she was reposting a story saying that Joe Alwyn and Taylor had this whatever ceremony, and Deuxmoi said she did have a ceremony. Not I think that she did. She said she did have a ceremony in either 2020 or 2021 in the UK, and it was described to me as a marriage by more than one person. That is kind of something similar to what a journalist would say when they are trying to corroborate a source. That is what corroboration is. You speak to multiple people and get their accounts on the record to confirm what one person has said to be true. It was never made legal. I will die on this hill. Deuxmoi, get ready to die. Put it on my tombstone. I have no reason to lie. I could give a shit what she does. I'm sorry she didn't tell you guys about it in a song, but just because she doesn't sing about something doesn't mean it didn't happen. Bold claim to make. Bold claim to make. And you know, when you have 2 million followers, it's not the same as randomly posting an Instagram story to your personal Instagram account, just having a kiki and a gossip about a celebrity. You are literally in this Instagram story purporting to be telling the truth. So you better be able to back it up is, I think, the lesson that Deuxmoi is going to learn from this scenario. If you are going to say that you're going to die on the hill and that you are confident that someone did something, whoever it is, you should be able to provide the receipts to back that up. And 2-3 Instagram DMs with random people with faceless profiles, let me tell you, not going to hold up in a court of law. And I am 100% sure that those are Deuxmoi's sources because Deuxmoi has no idea what she's doing because she's an idiot. Sorry. She's an idiot. So if I was Deuxmoi, the most terrifying part of Paine's statement to me would be, it's time for you to be held accountable for the pain and trauma you cause with posts like this. That is not an empty threat to me. By saying it's time to hold you accountable, I would imagine that the accountability process is already in motion. And the smartest thing for Deuxmoi to do when being, publicly shamed by the most famous person in the entertainment industry's publicist, one of the most powerful people in the industry to which you are so reliant upon to make your living, you would think that the logical thing to do would be to retract what you said. Step one, you would say, I take it back. That wasn't true. I can't stand by it or support what I said. Second of all, you would apologize. You would say, I'm sorry to Taylor Swift for saying that. And third of all, you would say, I'm just not going to talk about Taylor Swift anymore to avoid any further liability or issues. And I'm not saying that as a stan. I'm saying that as a person who would completely, I would reverse course. If Taylor Swift's publicist came after me and said, shut up, I would say, I'm done. I'm done talking. You know why? Because Taylor Swift, even if you are not wrong, can bury you in the legal fees, can bury you in the legal process. You can be very, very vindictive with the legal system in the United States. And Deuxmoi really should know that. I am very confused as to how she doesn't have any sort of legal counsel on hand for matters like this when she is often dealing with spreading rumors and gossip about people, especially about famous people who are known to be rather precious about these things. I think that sometimes people are under the misconception that because it's kind of hard to prove a defamation claim, that you can never actually win a defamation claim, but there's a modern precedent for this with the Cardi B versus Tasha K, a gossip blogger saga, that should really concern Deuxmoi, but I guarantee you Deuxmoi doesn't know about that because Deuxmoi doesn't pay attention. Deuxmoi wakes up and there's elevator music in her head and she walks into the clown car and she puts her fingers in her ear and starts stamping her feet and going, da, 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 and that is how all of her work is conducted. So Deuxmoi idiotically decided to get on her chosen medium, Instagram stories, and screenshot what Taylor Swift's publicist had said and say the following. Well, I make $0 from lying. Can publicists say the same? Shrug. Girl, you are in no position to be judging the morality of anyone else's work. You are basically a fishmonger. Hawking fish at the fish market, throwing the bones to the seals. This is not rocket science that you're conducting. Unfortunately for you, Deuxmoi, being a publicist takes way more effort and vernacular and intelligence than you would ever be capable of possessing. And I'm not even trying to defend Paine here. I'm really just trying to go after Deuxmoi because I think that this operation is, like I said, a sham operated from the back of a clown car. Also, to relate something that is in reference to something that happened years ago to pain and trauma after what happened seems like a poor choice of words. Either way, I apologize to Taylor. Taylor. Wow, talk about a backhanded apology. It's like starting an apology with, I'm sorry if I, insert thing that I definitely did. If I offended you, I am sorry about that. This is not a sincere apology because it, first of all, doubles down on the lie. It doubles down. It mocks Tree Paine. It tries to delegitimize Tree Paine's work here. And it also brings up a pretty disgusting and pathetic comparison because what Deuxmoi is invoking here, whether she wants to admit it or not, is the recent tragedy of a fan passing away at the Eras tour, which has gone kind of publicly a little bit unaddressed by Taylor directly. I think what Deuxmoi is trying to do to deflect from being called out for doing something that she definitely did, which was knowingly tell a lie. She has tried to deflect from doing that by bringing up the fact that Taylor is maybe the causer of pain and trauma to other people, and that whatever was done to her by Deuxmoi is nothing compared to what Taylor Swift has done to other people, which is a crazy thing to say. So crazy, in fact, that Deuxmoi deleted it and reposted her apology. Deuxmoi went on to post more Instagram stories that were basically, I guess, throwing shade at Tree Paine. One of those submissions was like, I don't understand why Taylor doesn't want to address this and why she's, making this a bigger deal than what it is, blah, blah, blah. There has been some speculation that everything is not what it seems in terms of why Tree Paine specifically decided to go after Deuxmoi at this juncture, and I will get into that a little bit later, but I think that, Deuxmoi really does not have a leg to stand on here, and the correct course of action now would be to delete every mention she ever made and make an apology and retract her statements, but she seems to be willing to die on this hill, and Tree Paine said, bet. So what are the next steps, you might be wondering? What could possibly happen next? I'm going to hypothesize now about what could happen after this. I am a little surprised that this seems to have been posted before Deuxmoi was served with any sort of litigation, which leads me to believe that perhaps there isn't a very strong legal case to be made, and instead the more effective way to get Deuxmoi to shut up is to publicly shame her, because, part of a publicist's job is to ascertain whether making a big deal about something is going to cause more harm or more good, and that can be a really tight rope to walk. Tree Paine would know, because when she decided to issue her first rebuttal against the Kim and Kanye thing, it actually included a detail that set off a fresh wave of abuse and harassment against Taylor. So I would like to think that this statement was not undertaken lightly, but I have to think that it kind of was a spur of the moment thing, and I think that this post that is being referenced specifically by Tree and Taylor is the straw that broke the camel's back. Do I think that this is really the statement that was made that is painful and traumatic to Taylor? I don't know, but over the past couple of weeks, Deuxmoi has been posting increasingly invasive and speculative, damaging things about Taylor. I don't want to repeat them because they're very upsetting and hurtful, and I think things that we should just not speculate about anyone, period. There's no reason to be speculating about these kinds of things for any person for any reason, unless you are deliberately trying to cause pain and trauma, to be honest, which is maybe not Deuxmoi's direct intention, but she can't deny that the effects of what she's doing may in fact incur some pain and some trauma. So I don't know that this was directly the thing that really upset Taylor and really got to her. I think it was a cumulative effect of things over the years, but I think the sticking point and what makes this the most compelling, perhaps even legal argument, is Deuxmoi saying, I will die on this hill. If this scenario of Taylor and Joe having this informal, not legal marriage ceremony is easy to disprove, Taylor can very easily do that. She is a famous person. There's a public record of her movements. She could break out the diary and say, I was here, here, and here at this time. This was not possible. I had this party on this date. This was the purpose of the party. These are photos from the party. Deuxmoi does not have a leg to stand on because I know, you know, Taylor knows, and Deuxmoi knows that any of her evidence will not hold up in a court of law. Her saying, I will die on this hill, is based on, I'm telling you, 3 or 4 conversations with faceless Instagram profiles. She's not going to be able to pull up any sort of receipt or evidence that won't immediately be able to be disproven by Taylor if Taylor is in fact telling the truth, which I would presume she is, to go this nuclear. So I want to circle back to the point I made about Cardi B and Tasha K, because a lot of people think that celebrities are kind of immune from taking defamation cases because there is a higher bar to clear for celebrities. They have a higher standard of evidence to provide to prove that they have been harmed by something. But let me just explain to you what happened with Cardi B and YouTube gossip blogger Tasha K. So Cardi filed a lawsuit against Tasha K alleging that she had made false and defamatory statements about her on social media and various internet platforms. The core of the dispute was a series of videos posted by Tasha K in which she made made some pretty outlandish and insane claims about Cardi B, claims that she had sexually transmitted diseases and that she was a drug user, etc., etc. Cardi B's lawsuit claimed that the statements were false and that they caused her embarrassment and anguish. And in response, Tasha K tried to file a countersuit and alleged that Cardi had publicly defamed her and caused her emotional distress, and that Cardi had encouraged her fans to harass her online. The case went to trial, and in January of 2022, the jury ruled in favor of Cardi B. They found that Tasha had indeed defamed Cardi B and awarded the rapper significant damages. Specifically, Cardi was awarded $1.25 million in general damages and $250,000 in medical expenses. These are life-ruining sums of money for Tasha K, who is a gossip blogger with a YouTube channel. Sure, she's probably doing well relative to what she does, but she does not have that kind of money to be parting with so easily. Later, the court also awarded Cardi B additional damages and attorney fees, bringing the total judgment to over $4 million. This case was really significant in highlighting the consequences of spreading false information about public figures on social media and other internet platforms. It underscored the legal boundaries of the freedom of speech, and especially in the context of celebrity and media. The verdict was really seen as a victory for Cardi B and a cautionary tale for bloggers and social media influencers about the legal risks of making unsubstantiated claims about individuals. And I would imagine that that case was at top of mind for Taylor Swift when she decided, with Paine and likely her team of the best lawyers in the business, to make this statement against Deuxmoi in public. I would imagine that this has served, in effect, as a very public cease and desist. And if Deuxmoi really truly wants to double down, you can F around and find out. I think that the standard operating procedure for something like this would be a cease and desist letter served in the mail to the recipient, and then they would have the opportunity to clarify their statements, take them down, issue a public apology before initiating legal action. But I think that a cease and desist might have been a really ineffective way to go about getting Deuxmoi to actually shut up and to stop her from saying things like this again in the future. The ephemeral nature of stories means that Deuxmoi can actually do a lot of damage to someone's reputation over a period of 1 or 2 days. So the process of like writing the letter, Deuxmoi reading the letter, having the right of response, that could have actually been too long of a time if Taylor was really this upset about it and felt that it was this damaging to her reputation. A more effective way to get Deuxmoi to shut up or to discredit Deuxmoi would just be to mention her publicly. I mean, that's powerful enough in and of itself. I wouldn't be surprised if a cease and desist arrives on Deuxmoi's doorstep very shortly, though. So these are the things that a celebrity needs to prove in order to win a defamation case. There are like key elements that have to be proven. Defamation law is designed to protect an individual's reputation from unjust harm due to false statements. Basically, you know, freedom of speech exists, but you cannot just say whatever you want about people without any repercussions if you are telling lies. And the specific requirements vary by whatever jurisdiction you're in, but generally, and I'm speaking generally because I'm not a lawyer, these are the kinds of things that must be proven in order to have a strong claim against someone for defamation. False statement. The celebrity must be able to prove that a false statement was made. Truth is the defense to defamation, so if the statement in question is true, it can't be considered defamatory. So Taylor's got to prove that Deuxmoi is lying. Publication or communication. The false statement must have been communicated to a third party, so a media outlet, or posted in public. There you go. Instagram story. Done. Harm to reputation. The celebrity must demonstrate that the false statement has caused harm to their reputation. This can include a loss of work, public humiliation, or other forms of damage to their personal and professional standing. I think a professional standing defamation claim would be a little bit difficult to pursue here, but a personal one, maybe more likely than we think. Then there is fault. So depending on the jurisdiction, the celebrity must prove that the defendant was at least negligent in making the false statement. And for public figures, the standard is a little bit higher. They usually need to prove actual malice, showing that the defendant either knew that the statement was false or acted with a reckless disregard for the truth. I think it would be very, very easy to prove that Deuxmoi, not only in this instance and interaction, frequently operates with a reckless disregard for the truth. Now I'm going to turn to Twitter and take some of your questions about this scenario. This is a pretty interesting one that came up actually in my mind also when I was thinking about the process of this potentially legal case. When you put out a song on streaming about your public breakup with a line about marriage, and your best friend adds to the narrative by giving a date that is attention to the topic again, created by you, which is normal because you want streams and this is your art, etc. Why is it a problem when people speculate? Isn't the story what makes it sell? And if she wasn't dating anyone new, would they still be like, this is a pain that you caused? So this is actually an interesting point and something that I've talked about a little bit before, and that the Easter egging and the lore building of Taylor Swift's life is a double-edged sword, and it kind of is like letting the cat out of the bag. Once you let it out, can't get it back in. So Taylor has created an entire legacy kind of based on building these clues and like treasure maps about these intimate details of her life that ultimately are personal scenarios. So she does often offer up parts of her life for public fodder. When you get as famous as she is, it's very difficult difficult to control what parts of your life become public fodder and what don't. And it can sometimes read as a little bit hypocritical to say, okay, I want you to be super invested and interested in this part of my personal life, but when it comes to this one specific thing, I want you to back off. That doesn't really work. So I would say that yes, there is an element of, okay, she does court speculation, but that still doesn't give people the right to tell lies about you. And if this is in fact a lie that Taylor can disprove in a court of law, then I think she's well within her rights to stop that from happening. My guess would be that Taylor has just been cumulatively very fed up with the way that Deuxmoi has been covering her since she started dating Travis Kelce, and can sense that it's not going to stop and that Deuxmoi is only becoming more and more emboldened. I think that what Taylor is probably more worried about is Deuxmoi being legitimized by mainstream media outlets. The best case scenario of this is not actually a legal outcome. The best case scenario is that Deuxmoi effectively becomes a pariah in the entertainment industry. Do you think that Ryan Seacrest is going to invite Deuxmoi back on his show after knowing that Taylor Swift doesn't mess with her and doesn't want her anywhere near her or in her space? No. Anyone that works with Deuxmoi will not get the opportunity to work with Taylor, and also will not have access to her very vast and varied network of powerful people. So I think that the fallout for Deuxmoi is going to be a lot more about her own reputational damage, and it's going to be, you know, opportunities that once seemed very possible to her. She just had a TV show picked up. It wouldn't surprise me if that TV show got stalled in development from now until the end of eternity because she's going to be blackballed. Why is Deuxmoi so big? Does she have any differences to Crazy Days and Nights, or are they basically the same? So Crazy Days and Nights is kind of the original digital age blind item purveyor. I'd say the difference is the medium. Crazy Days and Nights is a really old blog. Like, if you look at it, the interface of the website is very janky and hasn't been updated in some time. Deuxmoi is much more accessible, and it lives on a platform where all the celebrities are. Like, all the celebrities aren't existing and interacting on this blog that this person has referenced, but they are on Instagram, and people can, you know, tag them and stuff, and they can be more readily accessible to people because of that. So I think that Deuxmoi just has a bigger reach because it's working with the current medium of our time. Let me stress that it is not because they are more accurate than any other blind item or gossip rag. They are all equally right and wrong, in that they are mostly wrong and sometimes right, because a broken clock is right twice a day. You know, it's very possible that every so often someone sends in something that is correct. Tends to be that they post hundreds and hundreds of stories a day that never come to fruition. But when something is proven true in hindsight, we forget about all those hundreds and hundreds of stories that were not proven to be true or didn't end up being correct. And we only remember the ones that did end up being true, even though they have a much smaller percentage of the total output. How is Deuxmoi structured as an operation? How many people are involved? What are their income streams? And what are their motivations? So their motivations are, as far as I can tell, to get as much engagement on social media as possible. I know firsthand as a content creator that courting controversy and saying things that make people angry or create things that are controversial tend to do very well. So if your game is engagement, then Deuxmoi plays it very well because they deliberately post inflammatory things often. I think, you know, I've been kind of aware peripherally of Deuxmoi since the pandemic, and I think that in the last year or so, they've really gotten a lot more inflammatory, and they've gotten a lot less cautious about what they'll post and what falls through the sieve of whatever sort of filter they have for posting stuff. In terms of how many people are involved in Deuxmoi, it is mostly led by Melissa Lavallo, according to the most recent reporting that I read about it, but there are other people that assist her with the work that she does. I hate to call it work. And what are their income streams? That is an interesting one. I read a profile of Deuxmoi in 2021 that said that Melissa Lavallo allegedly was still working a full-time job while she was doing this, and she had not found a way to monetize this. Brands don't want to work with someone like Deuxmoi because Deuxmoi is a loose cannon that can go up in flames at any time, as we're just seeing right now. So Deuxmoi has, I think, been able to make money by selling this book, selling the rights to the book, doing their merch, and they have subscriptions on Instagram. So I would say that, you know, subscriptions actually can make up a really big portion of your income, especially when your audience is very invested in what you do. And Deuxmoi has a very loyal cultish following. So I'm sure that that operation is doing just fine financially. Do you think that there's a nugget of truth to Deuxmoi's main rebuttal that there must be a bigger story motivating the Swift camp for Tree to be so pressed about shutting down this specific narrative? It's hard to tell, and I don't like to speculate on that specifically because it just veers into the whole like conspirational territory. I can't imagine what the bigger story is that she wants to hide. I think that in general, Taylor is pretty heavy-handed when it comes to crafting her public image, and this is just another extension of that. We haven't seen it in some time. I think that's why it feels so shocking and seems kind of surreal. It felt like after the Reputation era, she was less guarded about being, you know, portrayed in a very specific light, but she also had kind of taken a back seat compared to the 1989 era. The last time she was this overexposed and this on top of her public image was in that era, and we all know how that ended. So this does give me pause. Good things don't usually come from statements like this from Paine. Why is this the hill that Deuxmoi is willing to die on? What does she gain from doubling down so hard? Surely she knows her story is false or her source is not credible, since she can't even pin down a year when this ceremony occurred. This lady is not smart. You are giving her way too much credit. This girl has, again, elevator music in the brain. She does not know anything about anything. This account creation was an accident. If you read kind of the origin stories of it all, she just asked people on her blog to send in like random celebrity sightings, and then it accidentally kind of became a de facto celebrity news source. So I think that she's completely ill-equipped to actually tell what is real and what is not real. What do you think is the purpose of calling out Deuxmoi so publicly? Surely it brings more attention to the allegation and the rumors. It makes me wonder why Tree made it a point to openly air the situation. Okay, so I think that the specific accusation that was highlighted is perhaps not what Taylor is actually most upset about, and it would be smart to call attention to that instead of the thing that is actually really damaging and upsetting to you. So that could be part of it. I also think that, you know, the number one best way they can get Deuxmoi to shut up is to cause her pretty severe reputational damage, and doing this has done just that. Taylor's an extremely well-connected person. She could have probably like done back channel behind the scenes Deuxmoi silencing, but to do it so publicly I think is probably the most effective way to do it if she really wants her to shut up. I think I've jabbered on for enough in this video. Let me know what you are thinking about this whole saga and what you think is going to happen next in the comments down below. Super curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. Keep in mind that this is, you know, a speculative scenario. We are not doing official boots on the ground reporting. This is, you know, who are we? Where are we? What are we talking about? What could happen next? That's what's going on. And make sure to check out The Evolution of a Snake for a more detailed discussion of these events in the coming days. And I can't wait to see you soon because I'm doing 2 videos a week until the end of the year. So we better buckle up because you're going to be seeing a lot of me. All right. Goodbye, Swifties.